We're live. Let me see. Okay, great. Here we are. How are you, Miss Samantha?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm great. So, okay, here we are. Look, I know you're a pro at using this. So, anyway, just for everyone who's watching, my name, or I go by Grace Forbes, and here is Miss Samantha Smith. She is a notary, an entrepreneur, a wise woman with an amazing story. So as you can see, the name of this is Successful Parenting After Divorce. And I'm just very honored that you gave me the opportunity tonight to be able to interview you about this. But you are an overcomer and you have a story to share. And I believe that successful parenting is something that people really struggle with.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Especially because of jealousy issues, or not, or just not wanting that possession, that possession of this is my child, um, you know, just the different struggles that happen after divorce. So, can you please let me know how long was your marriage? How did it start? Um, how did it start?
Well, I was really young and
Okay.
I was still in college. Matter of fact, I was in my freshman year of college,
Hmm.
and he was a soldier.
Hmm.
And, we fell in love and got married and had
Hmm.
children and bought a house and
Hmm.
all those things.
Hmm.
So, I was fairly young. I left my mom's house at 17 going to college,
Okay.
and got to college and got locked in, and I didn't even party or anything. I just wanted, to be in a relationship. I wanted to have a husband because I hadn't seen that growing up.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how that happened.
Okay. And how long did the marriage last?
I think we were married about 7 years.
7 years.
Mhm.
So when did you realize that it was kind of not working out? Like what was happening?
Um, just very poor choices on both of our parts.
Mhm.
And again, just coupled it with being young, we did a lot of
Mhm.
things really, really fast.
Mhm.
Like I said, we, had a house purchased by the time we were in our 20s. And
Mhm.
I don't think we really had a chance to grow up individually before we started trying to grow up together.
Right. So it was kind of a mutual. I'm sorry, I hear a little feedback. It was a mutual understanding, like,
No,
it wasn't. So what was that like?
no. Like I said, it was just a lot of poor decisions on both of our parts, and so we just made the decision to go
Okay.
ahead to get a divorce. Yeah.
Okay. And you said that you all have had successful parenting for about 15 years. And I'm sorry, I hear a little bit of feedback.
I'm not
Um,
sure what it is.
probably could be because, maybe the speaker, I'm hearing myself on your side come back after I talk. But anyway, I just kind of want to hear about the successful parenting. Did it start immediately? Like, what did that look like? How many
No,
children do you all have together? I'm sorry.
we have two children together.
2. Okay, and what are the ages, if you don't mind?
Now 21 and
Wow.
20. Yeah.
21 and 20. So how old were you when you had your first, was that too much? How old were you when you had your first one?
21.
Okay, okay, 21. And
Mhm.
so about 4 years after your marriage, you had your first child. So yeah, how did the co-parenting become beautiful? When did
Well,
that start?
we had our first child immediately after marriage.
Okay.
We were married in 99, and my first child was born in 2000, in 2000. So,
Mhm.
we had children fairly quickly.
Mhm.
Um, the co-parenting part came with a little time because, again, we had to, not only did we not grow up prior to getting married, but nobody taught us how to heal beyond not being married.
Okay.
Most times people just immediately go straight to divorce. And
Mm.
I had never experienced where individuals try to stay together and try to heal and try to forgive. Like that's I learned that that was one of the hardest things, and so it sometimes translates over into your parenting. But one of the things that we were determined really, really early on, we were determined to raise our children. Like if we had nothing else vested, if we had nothing else in common in the beginning, it was that we were going to raise our kids differently. And so that became the mission and the focus and the start of really successful co-parenting.
Okay. And ooh, that's can you kind of mute it whenever I talk? Can you kind of mute it so it can
Yes.
help with the
Mhm.
feedback? Thank you so much. So what was the visitation like? Do you feel like it was necessary to get courts involved, or are you someone who's kind of against that system?
No, there was no need for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was really blessed to have a man in my life who was not going to allow his children to experience what it was to be without fathers, because he and I both grew up without our fathers. And so that was really the main thing, was that we were not going to subject our children to the same questions, the same feelings of growing up without that parent that wasn't going to be there. And so that just became the mission. We really stuck with that. And that's how I believe that, again, the start of us being so successful
Mm-hmm.
with co parenting. We got on the same page really quickly about our kids.
Right. And so, how did that make your children feel when you all separated?
I mean, obviously, first of all, they were super young,
Okay.
but they were not, stupid by no stretch
Hmm.
of the imagination. They knew mom and dad were not going to be living together. And more importantly, they were not going to be living with their father. And my girls are daddy's girls. And so that was hard. But he was living very close to us. They got to see him as often as they wanted to.
Hmm.
He still participated in everything dealing with school and dances, and took them on trips. So I mean, they didn't skip a beat as far as his presence.
Hmm.
But it would impact children. I think at any level that had a close relationship with their parent, and now that parent is no longer living in the house with them, and it impacted my children in that way.
Right. Right. So, how did it impact your dating life? Did you date immediately after, um, or did he
I
date?
thought we was talking about successful parenting. You over here asking
No,
about
that
the
the
dating.
reason why I'm asking about
And
that.
I'm being funny. I don't have
No.
a problem with asking that.
The reason
I'm
I'm
being funny.
asking about that is because, and I'm glad you made that comment. The reason I'm asking about that is because some people try to do co-parenting, but one spouse does not necessarily, I'm not spouse, but one of the exes has a problem with the other one dating.
No, we
Even
didn't. We didn't necessarily have that problem initially. I want to say, that's not to say that I know I was in my feelings about some things, but that's not to say that it was about holding up the other person. Like there were no issues, like
right.
that. Again, I'm not saying that it was perfect.
Hmm.
I know I was in my feelings about a few things, but
Hmm.
again, we started out and hadn't grown up completely, hadn't healed completely. And we both made some decisions after being separated and divorced that I'm pretty sure we both would go back and change now. I know I would. But, ultimately, as we got older and we matured, it was always about the children.
Always about the children. Right. So, I mean, thank you for doing that. But yeah, it's important because do you feel like while you are co-parenting that it is important to kind of keep your dating life separate? The person shouldn't know about the person that you're dating. Do you think that it's okay to bring them around? Say if you were dating someone or your ex was dating someone, do you think it's okay to bring them or for him to bring them around your children without you knowing who they are at that time when they were younger?
When they were younger, as always, you're concerned about who your children are with and around. He would tell me or has told me in the past, Sam, I trust you. You're not gonna have any and everybody around my kids.
Mhm.
And I felt the same way about him. If I voiced my concern about some things, he would address that. So again, I think we started really growing up after, the divorce. And
Right.
so we started again, everything was literally about those girls having everything that they needed out of both
Right.
of us.
And we're kind of going to take the focus off of you a little bit because I don't want to dig too much, but I want to know your thoughts. Do you think that, as someone who has successfully co-parented, do you think that it's important for the other parent to keep, if they want to date to keep someone consistent, like not to be bouncing around from this person to that person? Would that bother you, or do you think that would disrupt the flow of your co-parenting if one of the parents chooses to date around too much?
My personal opinion about that is I think as long as you are dealing with another adult,
Oh,
that adult knows how to keep that part of their lives away from their children, their small children, especially, so to speak.
mhm,
Now, I've heard it said that, you know, when it comes to maybe custodial and non-custodial parents, that parents don't necessarily owe the children their lives, like they still get to live their lives. And even I've had to remind my children that your father was a man and I was a woman before we were your mom and dad. So we're gonna, people are gonna date, they're gonna be in
mhm,
our lives, and I think that's important, as well. But when you're talking about maybe small children who
mhm.
might get attached easily or something
Yeah,
like that, I think it's important to have discretion, and it can be hard sometimes, but I think it's possible.
right. And the reason I ask is because I know, or one reason I ask is because I know that some women choose to not date at all, until they feel like their children have grown up enough, so that they won't confuse their child, or maybe they feel like they need to protect their child because they don't trust certain people. Do you think that it's important to kind of open yourself up and not cut yourself off to dating, just because of your children? Do you think that ultimately would be fair to the person, their future self? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mhm. I think it depends, and I've heard so many different schools of thought on this.
Mhm.
Growing up in the church, I've heard that once you are married to someone, and if you're divorced, you're basically married to that person until you or he passes away. And so I've seen women in church get divorced, and they don't ever date again.
Wow. What do you
And
feel about that?
well, I mean, that's on them. That's on them.
Do you think maybe that scripture could be misinterpreted?
Well, I'm not gonna, sit up here and debate scripture, but
Uh-huh.
to each is his own as far as how they choose to conduct their lives post divorce. Because I don't think anybody enters into a marriage to, plan for when they're not gonna be married outside of being widowed. Um,
Unless they're just trying to get the money. And they already planning for
that's a whole nother story right there.
yes.
Um, but I think as far as cutting yourself off after a
Oh.
divorce,
Mhm.
again, I've heard so many schools of thought. I've heard women who weren't necessarily following scripture say that
Mhm.
they wanted to wait until their children got out of the house and then they would start to date. Um, it just depends on, I believe, what that person believes as
Mhm.
far and what they need moving forward, because dating doesn't have to mean anything other than going out to dinner to some people.
True.
Then you have some people who date and they end up moving in together. And you have
Mhm.
some people who are happy with just living together and never getting married again. So it just depends on that school of thought. But in relation to maybe not dating just because you have children,
Yeah.
I think it's important that your children see you in a happy, positive, nurturing relationship, whether it's with another man because you're dating, or your best friends, or your sister, or, they just need to see what a good relationship looks like between people. And so I wouldn't cut myself off, because I've told my children, learn how to be someone's friend first. So
Right.
I need to be able to model what a male female friendship, would look like outside of, something romantic. So I wouldn't cut myself off.
Absolutely. Before we wrap it up, I want to say thank you so much for, opening up and sharing a little bit about your testimony. But what is one of the most, or let's say three of the most important things that a person needs to possess in order to have successful co-parenting after a breakup or after a divorce? The three most important things that a parent needs to have in order for it to be successful after a breakup or after a divorce.
I think they need to have relationship goals with that other parent, and relationship goals with for the children. Um,
Okay.
because it's important to know what the boundaries are and aren't, now
Mhm.
that you're not married to that person.
Mhm.
Those goals also allow you to let that parent be a parent when you're not around them. It's
Right.
different when you're all in the same house, but dad might parent different than mom, and
Mhm.
mom has to give him that space, and vice versa. So have relationship goals, not just for the children,
Mhm.
but for the parents. Two, I think communication is going to be important.
Mhm.
As our children got older, if I said, we need to have a meeting, or,
Mhm.
let's talk to the girls. He no longer lived in my area, but we would all get on a
Mhm.
conference call, and we would talk to the girls about what we thought. And then he and I would have conversations about, what we needed to do with the girls, so on and so forth. So I think communication is important. And I
Mhm.
think thirdly, um, both parties need to have patience with themselves,
Okay.
because not only have you just gone through something traumatic, but your children have gone through something traumatic, and it's not going to be over overnight.
Mhm.
One of my children kind of still harbored some feelings
Mhm.
well into their teenage years.
Mhm.
And so, those things have to be dealt with, so that they don't go out and feel like good relationships don't exist, or, I'm mad with this parent, or I'm mad with that parent, because they will take those things into their adult relationships. So, as a parent, you really have to be patient, not only with and for yourself, but with and for your kids, because you don't know just how deep that may have gone to, impact them. So, again, goes for yourself and your children, uh,
Mhm.
good communication platform, and then just patience. Because, when I got divorced, it was like we were all growing up. He and I were growing up, and then the babies were growing up, and we just all was growing up.
Mhm.
And so, you have to definitely have to have patience with yourself and everybody involved.
Right. That was really good. Please, mute it once more, please. Thank you. So, as they got older, did you, and then you became more mature, and he did as well, and so did the children. And it seems like when you mentioned the relationship goals, that in that moment when you said that you all knew it was your duty, the children, this is why we're here, for them to make sure that they have an excellent life even though the parents are not together, so they won't feel like they are missing something even though it's not the same. And I kind of felt that in when you spoke about the relationship goals. And so the last question before we, I know I said before we wrap up, but something else came. Did, when they, after they grew up, were you all able to do any type of group vacation or group dinners together just as family, or did that kind of just not happen?
Well, like I said, for the sake of the children, we would come together. And so when it came to graduations and sporting events and, parent teacher conferences, we had teachers, years after we had been divorced, they would compliment us on how they never even thought we were divorced because of the way we both showed up and were present in our girls' lives long after. So, there were opportunities to come together as a family, but it was also important to have a level of autonomy so that they would have their memories with their father, they would have their memories with me. But the really, really important big stuff, like when we took our youngest child to college, we were all there. All the graduations, we were all there. When it came time for one of my children to graduate, I mean, we were all there together, and it's never any, funny, business or anything like that. We're there for them, even as them being young adults, we're their parents. I mean, that's not going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry. I really appreciate your response, Samantha. You've been so supportive. Nobody knows this, but she is a notary, and she is not just a notary. She is a notary after changing the legislation, and that is just so powerful. She is an entrepreneur who thinks above and beyond the now. And before you leave, I would like for you to have an opportunity on sharing what your mission as the notary of Georgia is.
Well, thank you very much. I know you were saying the other day it's been like a year since we've met. It don't seem that long. It's like I've known you for a very long time.
I know.
But I have enjoyed, and that's been one of the things I think that came out of going on with life, after a divorce, even though it's been, some years. But just the whole notion of going on with life is starting new stuff, being creative, thinking outside of the box, doing stuff you would have never done before. And so starting a business, who would have thought a notary business of all things? And I'm pretty sure you would have never thought you would be doing the wedding officiant because you're killing it in Atlanta. You really but starting a business and having an opportunity to impact people who are taking a chance. I mean, I've met other moms like me who post divorce are trying to use this business platform as a way to take care of themselves and their children. And so, one of the things I'm just really big on is um, just betting on yourself, because at the end of the day, most of the time that's all you got, and believing enough in yourself and encouraging yourself and hyping yourself up and putting up your own sticky notes and
Oh,
keeping a close knit, a close circle of people around you who do the same thing. And so my business, She Listens Notary and Business Services, I do provide mobile notary services throughout the state of Georgia, but most importantly, I'm serving the notary community in Georgia by trying to help push some legislation, creating some organizations and safe spaces, and some tools and products to help them start, grow, and build their businesses. So, in this season of my life, this is my new relationship. This is my new babies, so to speak. And so it's been great. I'm continuing to grow, and any woman that finds themselves on the other side of divorce, all I can say is, honey, it's literally the start of something new if you let it. If you allow it to be the start of something new. It doesn't have to be marking time, waiting on the next man or the next date or the next phone call. You could really dig deep and find out stuff about yourself and things you want to do and like to do that you never would have thought possible. The circles that I'm in, the people that I'm connected to, the new sisters I've made in this industry has been amazing. And you really impacting people's lives on a deeper level, and you're serving on another level. And that's what most of my life has been about, is about service.
right. Thank you so much for that. I want to ask, can you please repeat to me what your website is? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is shelistensllc.com. And I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and YouTube now too.
That's good. And why I think this is important is because Samantha, she is a teacher when it comes to being a notary. She has so much material, especially in Georgia, that you can learn from. And why this is important is because so many women stay in a marriage that is not healthy for them because they don't know how to make money. um, they don't know how to make money, and becoming a notary is one of the, I would say, it's low cost to start. It is low cost to start, and this is an opportunity for you to learn a new skill so that your lack of work or lack of money will not keep you in an unhealthy relationship. Samantha Smith from She Listens LLC, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. We're going to have to see each other soon. And I'm sure this will not be your last time speaking about your testimony of successful parenting after divorce. Thank you so much. And everyone else, we'll see you soon. Bye.